This episode of the Black Doctors Podcast is brought to you by EmpathIQ. EmpathIQ provides reputation management and marketing tools to improve relationships between you and your patients. Their software platform encourages and curates positive reviews, enhancing your online reputation. Visit www.empathiq.io and mention the show to receive a special discount just for signing up. Check out the show notes for a link to their website.
The Black Doctors Podcast highlights the stories of minority professionals with the goal of inspiring others. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and share with others, because the next generation can't be what they don't see. Tune in every Monday to hear our stories told by us.
Hello and welcome back to the Black Doctors Podcast. I'm Steven, your host. This is a special episode. It's actually sponsored by EmpathIQ, an incredible company which I think has so much that a lot of us can learn from and integrate and enhance our practices. We're joined by Avalon Hartman. She's an account executive for EmpathIQ. It's a company that provides healthcare marketing for individual physicians, clinicians, and even hospital systems. Avalon, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. You've had such an interesting career. I know this program is mostly centered around career paths. How did you kind of transition? I know before you worked in kind of the nonprofit sphere and in sales. What course did your career take to get you to where you are today?
Oh my gosh, it's been a long course, but basically, my last job really was in the trade show exhibit sales. So I helped local companies in San Diego, do their image, get them ready for trade shows, and actually sell the exhibits and do branding. So right about the day that COVID happened was the day that career ended. So it was no more. So I was super fortunate to be able to take almost a year off, which was awesome. And then I started looking for a new company to work with, and I found EmpathIQ. And it's unique and it's interesting. What we do is we have a software platform that allows physicians to individually manage their reputation. So it's really reputation management that we're concerned with. And nuts and bolts, what that means is we have a portal where physicians can look at all their reviews across the web. It stores their reviews. You can cross-search them. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but basically we're in reputation management.
And you're new to the company, but the company has been around for over 10 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, how did they get started in this space?
It was the brainchild of a technology person who found a way to kind of integrate with Google My Business and integrate with their pages. So we've taken that technology and kind of built a whole bunch of things around it. We exclusively work with physicians and people in the healthcare field, dentists and large practices or small practices. But it really was for a desire to allow physicians to have an equal voice on what was being said about them online, because we know that reviews can be a little biased in that people who are unhappy have a lot more energy to leave a review than people who are happy. So this technology allows the happy people, removes the barriers to leaving a review. So you get a much more balanced and proliferant experience as far as what you're reading online.
It's very interesting. And so if you had to break down what reputation management is for the layperson, maybe somebody just coming out of residency or branching out into their career, what would you say?
Yeah, well, reputation management is actually, I would say it's the process of being able to gather your reviews and see them in an easy way. It's also the ability to get more reviews or garner more reviews from your patients instead of leaving it all to chance and not being aware of what's being said about you, because it's important to know if somebody leaves a poor review. It can impact you in many ways. It can impact your practice. It can impact Poor reviews it's the first step in litigation. Someone's unhappy. And it's super important to know what's going on so you can address it. And it's an ideal way. It's just a quick look on status quo, making sure everything's good, making sure your patients are happy. And, we have some mechanisms built in where if you do get a poor review, we alert you. So it's not like you have to be completely ever vigilant. So we kind of have your back on that. And then we also have online coaches in a way. So if you don't know what to say or how to respond to a review, we have HIPAA compliant responses to allow you to say it in the right way and look compassionate and caring and, be HIPAA compliant at the same time and really direct what's going on regarding your own reputation online.
Yeah. And we talked about Google My Business, but what platforms are you kind of curating these reviews on and responding to these reviews?
Yeah. So Google My Business by far is the most important one, or it's probably 85% or even more than that as far as what people look at. We also have a Facebook integration. So, if a physician has a Facebook page and they want people to leave a review or people to be able to access it that way, and then also health grades. So those are really the three big ones when it comes to if someone is trying to find out about a physician's skills and, just really what other people's experiences have been. Mostly Google is really taking over the world, I'd say.
Right. And I know when we first talked a couple of days ago, this was something that I really wasn't aware of as even being out there. I didn't know the impact and the reach. How prevalent is this reputation management software and programming? How relevant and how many physicians and clinicians are kind of taking advantage of this at this point in time?
I would say, and maybe it's a little skewed on my end compared to, who I talk to, but there are probably 70% of the people I speak with do not know that as a physician, you can go on Google My Business, and you can set up your own page. So that is a free thing. It's something that businesses get. But it's a perfect way for a physician to start branding themselves, start a patient following. You get your picture right up there, you get where you work, you get your phone number, you get linked to your website. You can even put a video up there if you'd like to. And it's the place where you get reviews. So, I don't know about you, but anytime I want to have something like a surgery, I want to know who's working on me, right? And right. I want to know what other people's experiences are. So the first thing you do is Google it. And if you don't have much going on, then maybe people are not going to choose you as a physician, especially in something like an elective surgery or like a dermatology out of pocket. People really want to know who is behind the procedure. They want to know about the individual physician. It's a super important thing, I think, too, in that if you are working for, let's say you're working for a hospital or you're working for a practice, as an individual person, you want to be able to brand yourself because maybe you won't be working there all the time.
Yeah.
If you decide to leave, you want to have your own following. You want to have patients to be able to find you at your next job. And the way to do that is to make sure you have your Google My Business page set up and start getting your own personal reviews versus having your patients leave a review for a facility. It doesn't make much sense. So, our software is great. I don't mean to make this a commercial, but our software is great in that even if a practice or a hospital has their own review system in place, something different, you can use our software on top of it and it doesn't interfere with anything. So you can start getting those reviews and start having them post your page and they will be with you kind of for life, really.
Yeah, and that's super important. I know a lot of the folks listening to the show kind of have opened up their private practice, or a lot of people in my peer group are finishing up the first couple of years at their practice and maybe thinking about switching practices. So it seems to make pretty good sense to be able to take those reviews and that information and that data with you to wherever you go next.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing is that like I was saying, it almost eliminates the barrier to entry as far as we text a link to your patients. Your patient just clicks on the link and they choose a star rating, and then they can type in a review or not, and boom, it's posted. So it takes all the friction away, and people are so happy to leave a review. And, if you ask them in person, they're like, absolutely. But will they go home and actually leave a review when they've got 16 other things to do? Probably not. But they mean well. Yeah. So, you give it to them right there, make it super easy, and you're good.
I don't even fill out the surveys to get free Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've talked about it a couple times, but can you further describe this Google My Business? What is it? Obviously, it's on Google, but what resources does it offer?
Yeah. So Google My Business is kind of a listing, I would say. It is a place or a page where individual businesses that have an address, or physicians or dentists, can go on and claim their listing or create a listing. You put in all your information, you can upload photos. Then when that gets approved by Google, and it's probably not a huge process, then it's there for life. And then you can make changes to it. Obviously, if you move locations, you update your address. If you want to update your photo, you can do that. And it's an interactive in that people can post reviews of you right on that page. So anybody that Googles Dr. Stephen Bradley, boom, your page comes up. Or if anyone is Googling, plastic surgeon near me, let's say, or dermatologist near me, the thing that comes up is you get a list of names that are close. And if you're being compared to somebody else and they've got 5-star rating reviews, right, versus you've got 2, often people will start reading the 55, and that looks good. You are compared, unfortunately, these days, and it is very public. It's different. It's a different generation in that it's nothing to be so public, and people will say things about physicians that, they'll publish it online, and they wouldn't say it to your face, but they'll say it. Right. Unfortunately, they might post it online. So you want to be able to respond to and just be aware, really, because it is your reputation. And think about, how hard you work to get through medical school. And it's different these days in that you can't just sit back and rely on somebody else branding you. You have to just, it's not hard, but you start branding yourself from the get-go.
And to that end, if you're comparing a Google My Business page to your own personal website, how do those two work together? Is one better than the other?
Well, the first step, I think, is the Google My Business page, because anybody who goes online and let's say they're searching for, dermatologist or dentist near me, first thing they do is they need to see a list of who those people are. And if that's your first chance, so you have healthy amount of reviews and people can read them right there, then they choose your website. Gotcha. So the other thing that we happen to do is we have a widget which physicians can put on their website, and it links their Google My Page reviews to their website. So it's another way for SEO it gives you some activity back and forth, which is always good for the rankings. But it gives people a way to see when they're on your website, what's the latest reviews. We don't post poor reviews on your website. We only post positive reviews because that's not so good. And certainly they can go individually and look at poor reviews. But on your website, we make sure to have recent and positive reviews and have a number of them so people can read.
And to confirm, the Google My Business is free.
It is.
Yeah. So far, I haven't been billed or anything because I heard about it from you. I am in the process of filling it out. It took a couple minutes, and they had to verify my address. That's where I'm at now, but I haven't been charged yet. There's no bill coming, right?
No, yeah. If you get a bill, don't pay it because it's free.
So when it comes to EmpathIQ, what do you add in addition to the Google My Business? I guess, how does your program and process work?
So one important part is the ability, like we were saying, to text and email your patients after they leave a request to review. So it can be customized, and you just say, hey, thanks for your visit. We really appreciate you. Could you take a few minutes to leave a review? So if you do that, then you will get many more reviews and many more positive reviews than if you just leave it to chance or just leave it to that you're hoping someone will log on and say, hey, I had a great experience.
So a patient visits my dermatology office, and how do they get this text? Who texts them?
Through our software. So literally it will be your name and your email and your phone number. Someone will enter that, or you can do it in a bulk upload if you want to. And then right away, that patient gets a text with a direct link.
So maybe like the office manager or the secretary's kind of
Sure.
putting information in so they know that they were there today? Or
Yep. Or right when they leave your office, we actually have a QR code that we've created. So you could have it in your waiting room. You could have it in your office. You could give them a card, or your office person could give them a card and say, hey, would you mind leaving us a review? They just scan it. The stars pop up. You just select your star rating, and then you can type a review if you want. Just press enter, and it's done.
And those go to the Google My Business page?
They do. Or you can choose to have them go to Facebook or Health Grades. I'm a big fan of just the volume of Google, and the number of people that search on Google it's overwhelming. Yeah. So by far.
Yeah, I'd imagine the search engine optimization, your Google page is going to pop up first.
Yeah, that's what we hope.
And then for the folks listening, at what point would you recommend somebody start really looking into this online reputation management?
As soon as you get out of medical school. I mean, right when you start, that's what I would do. There's no reason to wait, right? If you have patients and you can do it from your phone or you can do it from a desktop, you just send out the invitation, start building your reputation.
And the question a lot of people ask is, this comes up time and time again when people start getting bad, nasty reviews on different programs, whether, Yahoo, Google, Yelp. How do clinicians kind of approach these bad reviews?
Well, what they should do, in my opinion, is they should respond. So if someone says, look, this guy's, I don't like him, or I don't like her, she was bad, the practice is bad, whatever, immediately you want to be able to respond and say, thank you so much for your feedback. We're sorry that you had a bad experience. Please contact my office. I'd love to talk to you. And the reason you do that is because you want to look reasonable. Everybody knows that there are kind of cranky people out there. So it's not uncommon to get people to leave a review who are just cranky or, whatever. So it's really expected. It's not the end of the world, but if you don't respond, it looks like you don't care. So if you just do a nice HIPAA compliant response and contact them, then usually, theoretically, you could ask them to amend the review or take down the review. And that happens. Lots of time people just want to know that you care.
It's more they're just venting and hoping somebody reaches out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with regards to your company, like, how many people have you helped or are you currently working with?
Oh, we have lots and lots, thousands of individual practitioners, healthcare, medical facilities, pain clinics. We do labs, but it's all healthcare. And the majority of our client list is practices, or individual physicians.
And what are some of the results that you see from people taking advantage of your program?
Oh my gosh, you should expect you could get maybe 5 times the reviews if you use a software program versus if you leave it to chance and just hope people will, log on to Google and give you a good review. I mean, at least 5 times, because, everybody you text is not going to leave you a review, but you have a much greater chance of them leaving a review versus nothing.
And then what's on the future for EmpathIQ? Are you guys working on anything new and exciting in this space?
Yeah, I think the name of the game right now is integrations to make it a more seamless opportunity. But when you talk about integrations, sometimes, there's just so many PMS systems out there. And, we want to be able to empower the individual physician. That's kind of where I come from, that I feel that it's important to give everybody a good, solid voice and to be able to build your career versus building somebody else's career. So I like integration, and I think that's great. But if that integration only allows people to leave a review to the practice and not the individual physician, I'm not for it. But people will do what they will, and no matter what, an individual can always use Empathic.
Yeah.
If they want to do it, tie it right to their Google My Business page.
Perfect. Yeah. And again, I just, from the first time we talked, and once you actually explain what this program is and what it does, it truly does seem like an invaluable resource for clinicians, those that are new to practicing or have been out for a while. So what are the kind of the first steps in getting plugged in with EmpathIQ?
So super easy. Contact me, and we will do an assessment on, how your page looks if you have a page. If you don't have a page, we give you the steps to create a page, and then we just onboard you. And it's not difficult. It's, at the most an hour, teach you how to use the software, and you are off and running. And then we have dedicated account managers. We're not a company that we're based in San Diego. We're here all the time. If you call, you'll actually get a person who answers your phone call, and it's not a system where you are left and you don't know what to do and how to work it. It's not complicated, but there's lots of little features that people like to see and like to utilize. So super easy. They just pretty much contact me, and it's just sales at EmpathIQ. Or they can call at 858-375-5686. And I will be more than happy to talk to them, see what they've done in the past, see what's working for them, give them different options on how we can help. And it's actually a very affordable thing. And it's extremely worthwhile, in my opinion.
Great. And I think, are there any specials or discounts maybe for people that are thinking about?
Good question. Yes, we will definitely give 2 months off. Somebody gives me a ring and says they heard it on this podcast, they get a special discount. I'm happy to work with them. And it's fun. I like to meet different people, different practices. And, there's just so many cool people out there doing really good patient work, and we appreciate it.
So don't say I never gave you guys anything. For all you listeners out there, we'll be sure to leave your contact information in the show notes, and definitely if you reach out, let them know that you heard about this incredible company on the show. Avalon, what are some of the if you have any horror stories of just terrible reviews and that maybe you're able to fix and maybe not so much?
Yeah. So some horror stories, unfortunately, we can't control it. There have been times where people will leave a review for a physician and it's not even their doctor. So some doctor, they get the wrong whoever, They think they're on the right page, but they're not on the right page. So some people will get, like a terrible review. And the poor physician is like, but that's not even my patient. Unfortunately, Google, they're not in the business of, figuring out whose patient is who. So there's not anything you can do about it other than respond and say, I'm sorry, there must be a mistake. We don't seem to have you as a patient. So unfortunately, we can't remove those reviews, but you can respond to it. That's an unfortunate thing that will happen. And then another unfortunate thing that I have found is that we find that sometimes physicians, they get very upset, which is understandable. And sometimes they will actually publish something online that is not great, right? So that's why we're there. So if you do get a little hot under the collar, I mean, it's just normal, it's normal to feel like I'm going to respond to this and tell them they don't know what they're talking about. And, maybe it's an unfair review, but you got to be careful with what you publish. Be careful with what you say online. And, we all know if you text or email, it's not the same as speaking. So your tone is, people can't tell your tone. They can't tell if you're sarcastic. You got to just be by the book for that. But I think the horror stories is, so, people leaving a review when it's had nothing to do with you. That's unfortunate. And then the horror story really is if you respond incorrectly. I think that's a bad thing.
And you mentioned earlier coaching on how to respond and HIPAA compliance. I guess what are one or two things that you would say to folks listening if they find themselves in some kind of situation where they're responding to reviews? What should or shouldn't they say?
So, our stance is that you need to be neutral. You need to acknowledge what they say. You need to give them an opportunity to speak with you because you really do want to take this offline. You suggest that you take it offline, suggest that they contact your office and then follow through. But basically, we all know what HIPAA is, right? You can't really, your hands are tied in a lot of ways, but just your normal response of thank you so much for your feedback. We'll try and do better, or we dropped the ball if you did. That's always good too. It just shows that you're human, and it shows people who are reading the review that, you're not always right. And sometimes you're not right. Sometimes something happens, appointments get canceled, or there's miscommunication. Keep it as PC, obviously, as, normal and neutral as possible, and pretty much suggest that they talk to you offline. I think that's the best suggestion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess as we're thinking about value and cost and what your company has to offer, is it possible to kind of put some type of dollar value on reviews?
Yeah, there's been some studies in the past. Harvard did a study and it showed that an online review, a drop in a star rating, let's say you go from 5 to 4, was worth about 9% as far as a practice is concerned. And 9% is a big amount of money, right? There was also a study at Cornell, which is not exactly 1-to-1, but it has to do with hotels. So same thing, the hotel rating, if a 1-star drop was about 11%. So a hotel, if they had a 5-star, could charge about 11% more than an equitable, hotel that maybe had 4.5 or 4 stars. So it's a big amount, and it's not really all about the money, but it is about your reputation, and stuff like this follows you.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like kind of some low-hanging fruits. I know I was looking at restaurants this past weekend, and the star reviews, I mean, it came down to 4.8 versus a 4.4. So
yeah, we're all conditioned to read the star reviews, and Google seems to be the most authentic. Some of the review sites, some of the more ancillary places, I don't know if I trust all of them, but I do trust what people have to say on Google.
Well, Avalon, it's been fantastic kind of speaking with you and hearing about this field of reputation management. If folks haven't felt like they've been sold to so far, I mean, we just had to exchange information. What would you say, kind of in closing, why should people look into EmpathIQ? Why should they come to you and your company?
Oh, 100%, because we are absolutely dedicated to making sure that you're successful. It's not just talk. We love our clients. We are behind our clients. We want our clients to succeed. We want them to say good things about us. We are in the business for the long run, and we're only in the medical field. There's other companies that do pet care, and oh my gosh, they do restaurant reviews, they do plumbing reviews, and they do medical reviews. That's not us. We are all HIPAA compliant here, and we know the space. And I think we're a really solid choice if you want to have a partner.
Absolutely. And I know you listed them before. They will be in the show notes, but can you drop those contact details once again?
Sure. So my email is sales or Avalon, one of those, at EmpathIQ. And our phone number is 858-375-5686.
Definitely look for these in the show notes. Make sure you mention my name so you can get that discount for the first 2 months. Avalon, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I know that a lot of our listeners will gain some value from this episode and be able to start working on their branding and building their online reputation.
Oh, thank you so much. And I do hope that people get value from it. And I hope to hear from people. And even if you just want to talk and call and talk about setting up your Google My Business page, which is free, I'm happy to do that.
The Black Doctors Podcast is a nonprofit, volunteer passion project with the goal of inspiring all who listen. Tune in next week for another episode of the Black Doctors Podcast with Dr. Stephen Bradley, your friendly neighborhood anesthesiologist.